Yeah, how are we? You bunch of rude boys, hope everyone is sound. Welcome back to the channel. Today's session was that quad dominant leg day, the heavy hitter, that session that batters me every single week. I went into this one running on 3 hours of sleep. I thought this is not looking good. But it turned out to be an extremely good session, which I was surprised by. I was driving to the gym thinking I could fall asleep here. I took a hefty serving of Conviction by Conte Sports, code ThickBoy at checkout. It's greatly appreciated. I'd done my ab work, 3 working sets, 10 to 15. I thought, still not feeling great, but then I performed my feeder sets on the lying leg curl. And I thought, you know what, mate, I think we're on here. Everything felt light. And then when I got into my 3 working sets, surprise, surprise, all three progressed. Menacing behaviour from myself. When it comes down to this crazy game of physique development, there are many people that like to keep everything dialed in. They like to keep it textbook and they track every single metric under the sun. And don't get me wrong, it works. It works for many. But if I was to wake up with an aura ring and I looked at that data and I looked at my readiness score, it would have told me it was in the bin. And I would have thought, I shouldn't train today. But if I didn't train today, I would have missed out on this productive session. The reason I don't wear an aura ring is simple. One, they're spenny, not spending that kind of money. And two, I'm not going to let a little ring on my finger tell me how I should feel. So when it comes down to my training, no matter how I feel, unless I'm ill, if I'm ill, I'll never go to the gym. But everything apart from illness, I'll always go to the gym on my scheduled training day. I'll train and just see how I feel. If things feel really off and it just feels like a very unproductive session, I'm more than happy to call it short. If it feels like everything's going to move, then of course I stay, complete the session, and just fully send it. Now, this is an approach I recommend people take who have been training for a prolonged period of time, are in tune with their body, and can auto regulate. I would never recommend it to a new trainee because when you're new to training, you just need to expose yourself to high intensity, high effort, and just bury yourself. And then over time, you can then look to auto regulate things. But there's very few times I've walked out of a session, probably like once or twice. That's all I can remember off the top of my head. But that's normally because the body's just battered and I need a deload, and then I implement a deload shortly after. Someone mentioned on the previous YouTube video that it was boring, and I just want to say you really hurt my feelings, and I haven't stopped crying since, and that's why I only got 3 hours of sleep. Of course, that's sarcasm. You might not be able to tell because I do have a monotone voice. There's zero emotion thanks to all the demons and the battle I'm fighting in my head. But when it comes down to these videos, they're going to get boring, mate. It's my training with my voice. This is a repetitive game. It's a game of rinse and repeat. It's something I say to the lads on the team all the time. It's a game of rinse and repeat, but if you can get good at playing the game of rinse and repeat, you will make a lot of progress. Same thing, day in, day out. String those productive sessions together, those days together, and over time they compound and you'll get that progress in return. Now, I'm looking at the little timer on my computer. I'm only, 3 minutes in? I've got a lot to talk about. So I wanted to cover a topic. I wanted to try to provide a little bit of value because a lot of people are lost out there, and I see these lost lads in the gym, and I feel saddened by it. They're turning up to the gym, they're putting the same amount of time I'm into each session. They're there for an hour, maybe 2 hours, but not one productive thing has been done. And because of that, they're probably not going to get to where they want to be anytime soon. So I thought, it's the winter, it's thick boy season. Let's talk about how to navigate a productive thick boy season. And when I talk about a thick boy season, I'm talking about a bulk, a growth phase, an improvement phase, a massing phase, as some people call it. Don't say massing around me. I don't like it. I find it cringy. Anyway, let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is your resistance training is going to underpin your progress. Everything stems from your training. You need to make sure that your training is on point. We want to see great accuracy, so that means good execution. We want to see high amounts of effort applied, and you want to see all as close to failure as you can. As a result of pushing your working sets close to failure, we're going to see that concentric tempo slow down. So concentric, for example, in a chest dominant pusher movement, it's pressing up. On a back pulling movement, it will be pulling down. We want to see that slow down involuntarily. When that happens, a slow contraction velocity has come into play, and that's just a box we need to tick. Alongside that, we want to make sure we are in a calorie surplus. However, a lot of people hear calorie surplus and think, I'm going to eat until I can't eat no more. It's not how it works. Be reserved. Yes, over time we want to see that scale weight increase, but you do not need to see big jumps up in scale weight on a week-to-week basis. Especially as a natty, there's nothing wrong with seeing scale weight hold for a couple of weeks, as long as your performance is getting better and you're recovering. Now, when it comes down to tracking scale weight, super easy. Step on the scale each morning after you go into the toilet, write it down. So if you're tracking your scale weight, you're going to be tracking your food. Make sure you're tracking your training with a logbook. So then, of course, you've got that clear reference point. You know what you need to do to be applying progressive overload. Now, when it comes down to nutrition, I always recommend finding your maintenance. Don't pump it into a calculator, they're never accurate. Just track what you eat, see what scale weight does across a 7-day period, then make an adjustment. If scale weight drops, eat a bit more. If scale weight is starting to move forward, pull it back, just find that maintenance point, and then gradually add calories in over time when they're needed. Now, when it comes down to scale weight, a lot of people go off a one scale weight reading. So one day they wake up, they see scale weight's gone up, cool. The next day they see it's gone down, oh, I need to eat more. It doesn't work like that. Scale weight is super sensitive. It will fluctuate on a day-to-day basis due to many variables that come into play. So you want to track an average. You can do this through Happy Scale, it's free. So track your scale weight average across a 7-day period, monitor that alongside training performance and recovery markers, and that will be your decider whether you make adjustments or not. And of course, as a natural, your adjustments are going to be based on your food. When it comes down to being assisted, stack design comes into play. And of course, I'm not going to share that on a YouTube video. Could be a bit irresponsible, just a bunch of new trainees injecting testosterone. I don't think it would end up well. But in summary, growth phase, thick boy season, put yourself in a reserve surplus, apply high amounts of effort in the gym, drive your performance up for a prolonged period of time, and then of course that muscle's going to come on the frame. It's very simple, but it's not easy. It's like professional cycling, mate. Tour de France. It's simple, just ride your bike fast. Doesn't mean it's easy. It's the same with bodybuilding. It's pretty simple on the surface, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's going to demand a lot of effort for a long period of time. But if you can dial in and commit to the process, you're going to see results in return for that effort you've put in. That's a very short and sweet way to bulk. Really is like work. But that was today's session wrapped up. As mentioned, I was surprised that I managed to take that kind of progression. Remember to like, subscribe, comment if you're feeling dangerous, and I'll see you in the next one.